Christian, it might have been Tess, I'm not sure, but one of the guys didn't kick out. So I went on down to 3. So then they tried to say that I screwed the finish up. So Johnny fired me. But I had the opportunity to see Tess before he died. And he said, hey, man, he said, they set you up. He said, I didn't know that they was trying to get me, to get to help them to fire you. Tess told me that, to my right hand to God.
It was 25 years ago, Teddy, that you signed with WWE. And I'm curious, what made you want to go to WWE? I know you were in WCW for a period of time, but if I'm not mistaken, you left there maybe a year or two before you went to WWE, right?
Well, when I left WCW, I came home for a while, and I guess, I don't know, I may have been home for 5 or 6 months or something like that. And I just got a call one day from Jim Ross. Jim Ross was already in WWE, and he was in charge of talent relations. And so Jim Ross called me and said they wanted to bring me up, and and he said, you're gonna have to go all the way back to the bottom. You got to start, we'll bring you in as a rep. I'm like, well, hey, I don't care about doing all that, because I had managed, so many big stars, Taker and Doom and all those guys. So it was like a step down, but that's part of the test in this business. So I didn't worry about me. And it's all about a check. So I had a job. So I went in there in 1998 and I started refereeing. And after I started refereeing there, then I come to find out that John Laurinaitis was in charge then too. That he set me up, and I went to Hawaii, and I did a referee match in Hawaii. I think it was with Christian and somebody. I can't remember. Oh, Christian and Edge. I mean, not Edge, Tess. God rest his soul. And so what I did, I went and made the count 1, 2, and so Christian, it might have been Tess, I'm not sure, but one of the guys didn't kick out. So I went on down to 3. So then they tried to say that I screwed the finish up. So Johnny fired me. But I had the opportunity to see Tess before he died. And he said, hey, man, he said, they set you up. He said, I didn't know that they was trying to get me, to get to help them to fire you. Tess told me that, to my right hand to God. And so then that way I came home and I stayed home. And so one day I got a call from Laurinaitis, and he wasn't real thrilled. He just real dry with the whole conversation.
Yep.
And he said they wanted to bring me back, and so to come in as a manager. So then I got back, and I found out that the people that were responsible for that were Sergeant Slaughter, Earl Hebner, and Michael Hayes.
Really?
They were the ones that talked to Vince and told Vince what I could do, and to bring me in as a manager. And so that's when I went back, and I went back to Providence, Rhode Island, and I walked out in Providence, Rhode Island with D'Lo Brown, the first guy, and I cut this promo on Tommy Dreamer. And I remember coming back up the ramp, and I come back through the curtain where Vince was, and he looked up and he said to me, he said, I can't believe I've had you here right under my nose all this time.
Wow, that's great.
Very cool.
Great.
Go ahead.
Very few people remember or even know that John Laurinaitis was the brother of Road Warrior Animal. A lot of people didn't know that, even people in the business.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long time. I did find out after a period of time, but it was a shock when I first heard, because I was like, what? But Teddy, let me ask you, when you first got into WWE, what was your first match? Do you remember?
No,
because the one that comes to mind that I remember seeing you in, and it was early on, was the Owen Hart match.
Oh, that wasn't the first match I had.
That wasn't the first? Okay. For some reason, that's when I first remember seeing you back in. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I know that when you were in there with the Owen Hart death, that had to be something.
And then, I was in the one with Darren Drosdorf too. Him and D'Lo. When D'Lo dropped him on his head, I was the referee of that match. And he was paralyzed right after that.
When did Teddy? And I never knew this, and I never asked this, but you're the right person to ask. When did referees start wearing an earpiece so they could be talked to by Vince or back in the day with Ole Anderson or whatever? When did that start taking place?
I guess, man, probably late '80s or something. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think when I first went to Vince in 1998, you know, the guys had the earpieces, and WCW was slowly getting them. I believe they got them just as I was leaving, but they
But what
had
did
them.
you do before that? What'd you do before that?
Oh, well, JJ Dillon was always the guy. Like when it was time to go home, JJ would always come out and walk out, and he would have a pencil in his hand, and he would hold that pencil up, and you'd look for JJ, and when you saw JJ, you know, you would tell the guys, you know, it was time to go home. WWE with WWE when I first got there, I think they had the pieces, but I remember some of the referees, Tim White got arrested, so they were telling me that Jack Lanza used to be the guy. He would always walk out with a newspaper in his hand, and when you saw Jack, you knew it was time to go home.
I never knew that.
I didn't either, and I'm thinking, so every time a match would end, one of them would walk out and have a pencil or a newspaper to let you know it's time to go home, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Guys,
then you would convey it to the wrestlers.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.